Eve, a controversial video game is hitting store shelves. The game has characters that kill and torture people in order to escape from an insane asylum.
The adult content in Grand Theft Auto 5 begs the question, do you know what your kids are playing?
One man allegedly went too far when he was told his Little Caesars pizza was not hot and ready, pulling an AK-47.
Right now, think of your favorite song, book, movie, or video game. Got it? You know what? As a matter of fact, say it out loud right now in the classroom. You won't. Alright, anyway. There's a good chance that one of the things you thought of contains some sort of non-safe for work material, whatever that may be. Perhaps you're a fan of action movies like John Wick and Fast and the Furious. Or perhaps you like horror movies like Friday the 13th and Halloween and, Attack of the Rolling Tomatoes. Or maybe you thought of a game or a song you like. Anyway, before Durham rips my skin off for yapping too much, what is my point here? The point I'm getting at is a lot of the examples that I listed out is something a 40-year-old wine mom would get mad at. Media like this has a reputation for censorship and controversy. Now my goal is to show how news outlets like these can see art and use it to convince the masses that it's corrupting the youth. Now, the presentation will be divided in two main parts. Okay, I'm gonna be completely honest, I wasn't too thrilled researching for this, so you're just gonna have to bear with me. Anyway, one of the main things that came up to my mind when I thought about music controversies was the satanic panic around heavy metal and rock music, specifically AC/DC, which were rumors being spread around that the band's name was an acronym for Antichrist Devil's Child, which goddamn, Ball must really have his fingers in a lot of pies, because to put this on the back of literally every electrical appliance. It literally just means alternating current, direct current. Now, another thing that made everyone scared that Satanism was on the rise was Ozzy Osbourne biting the head off of a bat. On January 20th, 1982, during a concert in in Iowa, a fan threw a real, deceased bat on stage. He mistaked it for a rubber toy, picked it up, and bit its head off. Now you can probably imagine this didn't help the Satanism allegations. Whatever, next election I'm voting for Moloch. Now, video games are definitely the main subject of news horror stories about how a guy ended up as a murderer because he decided to play Return to Dreamland. Now, trying to stay in yearly order, one of the first major panics over video game violence was the arcade game Death Race, inspired by a film with the same name. Now, what I'm about to show you is very disturbing gameplay. Downright vile, disgusting, sickening, repugnant gameplay of this so-called arcade game. Now, if you're squeamish towards violence, you might want to cover your eyes and plug in your ears, because you must truly have an iron gullet to stomach this. Yeah, nowadays this is really nothing special, but back then it was a pretty big deal. I mean, just to play a game where you can run over poor, innocent gremlins. Yeah, these aren't even real people, they're gremlins. In 1993, the US Senate held court hearings over violent video games, specifically Mortal Kombat and Night Trap. Night Trap in particular is a weird case because it's not even really a violent game. It released on the Sega CD and it was one of those live FMV games. It was essentially just a B-movie slapped on the Sega CD. But they made a point to highlight this bathroom scene, which is pretty weird, but it's nothing absolutely jaw-dropping.
In the past year, some very violent and offensive games have reached the market. And of course, I'm speaking about Mortal Kombat and Night Trap. And let me say that for the record, I want to state that Night Trap will never appear on a Nintendo system.
Now, another game highlighted by these court hearings was Mortal Kombat, and this one is a lot more obvious than Night Trap due to its blood and its fatalities and its gore.
Kids relish their victory and their bloody choice. Should they pull out their opponent's heart, or simply rip his head off just to see his spinal cord dangle in a pool of blood? How do you feel about cutting his head off?
Okay, I wanted to show this funny thing I found on YouTube a while ago, and it's of Bill Clinton, of all people, showing off this video game magazine he found, and he highlights this ad for Guilty Gear, which I think is just actually like hilarious.
And here's one that the most unbelievable of all. It says, "Kill your friends guilt-free."
Now, one game I'd like to talk about real quick is Postal, which is basically about a guy who goes around doing not so nice things to just random innocent people on the street. I'll just say that. But one of the main things that got this on the news is the ending of the game, which I gotta keep vague and I can't show or say, but I'll just keep it as a American schooling issue, if you can catch my drift on what that means. Now, the United States Postal Service actually tried to sue Running with Scissors, the developers of this game, is because the game's name, Postal, which is actually based off the term going postal, and they thought somehow that this would be a negative connotation for their brand, I guess. All right, the last game I'm going to be discussing about is Mass Effect, and it's honestly pretty silly news article.
Psychology specialist, radio talk show host, and the author of the new book, The Cult of Perfection. And Jeff Keighley is a game expert with Spike TV. Welcome to both of you. Cooper, it sort of cracks me up whenever I hear a company say that, there's all these controls in there that you can monitor the time and you can, but basically Pandora's box is open. I mean, kids have access to these things, and unless you're hovering over them every second, they're going to find ways to see this stuff on the internet. How damaging is it really?
Well, the thing is, it's the whole concept of like 13-year-olds have never seen Playboy because they're not supposed to. It's that idea that, let's talk about who the video game is for. It might be for adults, but if you look at the statistics, who is playing video games but adolescent males, not their dads? So that's the first thing. The damage is this. We know that all the research shows
Cooper, have you ever played Mass Effect?
No.
All right, time to share these opinions and these thoughts with my special interviewee, Corvin Travail. Okay, so Corvin, what is your opinion on the original Postal game by Running with Scissors? Do you think it's controversial?
I mean, maybe, since you go around just killing people, but
What
I don't know, I
about
thought it was fun.
what is your opinion on the ending of the original?
I never beat the game.
Okay, well, do you think that it is a parent's responsibility to control what their child consumes?
Maybe.
What is your opinion on the disturbing nature and violence?
I mean, I don't really care, since it's not real.
I think
It
that's
won't hurt me if it's not real.
I think that's a very fair point. All right, last question. What is your opinion on the gratuitous sex scenes in Mass Effect? Do you think it is objectifying the women?
Probably.